giving is the antidote to emptiness. So when we give, we are starting that flow. Okay. And a lot of times we don't have the energy to give, but that's when we need to give the most, because that will remind us that, oh, I do have a well, an endless well of love inside of me, that my depression, my anxiety, my grief right now is making me forget that. So if I can tap into that well and still give a hug to somebody when they're suffering, even though I was just suffering, they don't need to know that I'm suffering. I'm just going to give to them. And that's going to make me feel better in the moment, because they're going to be like, oh, thank you. I so needed that. That then lights me up. And now I'm out of my anxiety and grief and depression because I just helped somebody else. So we are humans here. Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. We talk all things life, love, spirituality, love, attraction, and all of that juicy goodness. We are here to talk about basically just how to be a kick-ass human and be so loving and be so nurturing. And sometimes we can slip in and out of these cycles where we're like the best partner ever and we're the best sister or daughter or whatever it is. And then other times we can get really in our mind about it and we can feel like our life is maybe crumbling. So those relationships kind of get put to the back burner. And then we have to come back out of it again. We have to come back out and support people and pull in those relationships. Because I believe, and what my mentors have taught me, is that relationships are what we make of it, right? The relationship can always be there and just be existing in your reality. But if you're not feeding it, if you're not working on it, if you're not fueling it, then it's just going to stay the same. And we want things to grow and to expand and to feel more loving and joyful and fulfilling, right? Don't you want a fulfilling relationship? Well, a lot of that comes from understanding your partner, understanding your loved ones, your nieces, your nephews, your children, your parents. And the more you can understand yourself, number one, and then you can understand them and where they come from and what is their human design, what are their gene keys, how do they function, then we can properly love them. So it takes a little bit of effort and a little bit of work. But for the people you love, don't you want to do that? Don't you want to share this one lifetime that we get to experience in this specific body with this specific family? Like, you chose it. Don't you want to make it the best it could possibly be? So my advice is, when you get some time and space, sit down and ask yourself what your needs are right now. Like, what would elevate you right now in your life and make you feel a little bit more energetic so that you can show up for people and you can open the door of communication and start to fuel these relationships and start to, ask people how they're doing. Through my loss, my daughter passed away in 2012. And the first thing that I learned was that you can't plan life and that we have to feed relationships, because I don't know if this person is not going to be here tomorrow. So I'm going to put everything I have to this communication, into this connection today, because I want to do everything before they leave or before I leave. And that helped me build such discipline, because everywhere I went, I started conversations as if it was my last. And it wasn't out of fear. I did slip into fear sometimes, but it was really just me living life and being like, I'm going to make the best of it. And when I started to do that, you guys, my life became so freaking magical. People started to buy me gifts because they felt my love. And not saying gifts are the goal, but like, I wasn't expecting anything, and I'd be at home and like somebody would drop off something they made for me because they just appreciated my kindness. So it becomes this like cycle of this like infinity symbol of love, because you nurtured it and you fed it. Okay. When we stop feeding the infinity symbol, the flow cuts off. So I always say giving is proof of having. I learned it from Aaron Abke. And one of my favorite quotes that I shared back when I was a teacher is, giving is the antidote to emptiness. So when we give, we are starting that flow. Okay. And a lot of times we don't have the energy to give, but that's when we need to give the most, because that will remind us that, oh, I do have a well, an endless well of love inside of me, that my depression, my anxiety, my grief right now is making me forget that. So if I can tap into that well and still give a hug to somebody when they're suffering, even though I was just suffering, they don't need to know that I'm suffering. I'm just going to give to them. And that's going to make me feel better in the moment. because they're going to be like, oh, thank you. I so needed that. That then lights me up. And now I'm out of my anxiety and grief and depression because I just helped somebody else. So we are humans here on this planet together, and our goal is to elevate each other and love each other and use each other for good, right? To feed and fuel and pour into one another because it makes the whole experience amazing. So if you can think about yourself, I had this vision the other day, and if it was like a room filled with all of these TV screens, say there was like 40 TV screens on the wall, right? Whoever's watching this right now, maybe there's 100 of you watching, right? Each one of you has your own screen. You're in your own movie. You're in your own TV show, right? So if I look up at the wall and I can see me, and there I am in my life, I'm filming content in my apartment, I'm going on nature walks, I'm going to all of my nieces and nephews' sports games because I know how important it is for them, for me to show up. Because when I was a kid, I always wanted people to show up. So I take action. That's feeding the relationship, right? So I'm in my TV screen, fueling all of my partnerships for the people that are really meaningful for me. And I have a ton of clients who I try to check in with often. And that's been harder to do as YouTube grows and as my client group, I guess we can call it, I mean, I have 7 years of clients, you guys. That's a lot of people to keep up with and to keep track of and to check in on. And I can't always do it, you know? And that's when I love when they reach out to me, because then it kind of starts that conversation of like, oh, good, I was wanting to text them and they texted me first. But anyway, I'm in my TV screen living my life. Well, guess what? If I'm at the park, right, and I see a family and the dad is maybe yelling at the kids and the mom and the dad are fighting in the park while I'm walking, I'm imagining, oh, that's their TV screen. So me walking around observing it and seeing it and being like, I could have judged it. I could have said, well, he shouldn't be doing that and they shouldn't be doing that in front of their kids. Like my mind wanted to judge all of it. But I was like, I'm in my own TV screen. They're in theirs. They're in their own video game, if you want to call it that. So that's their lessons. So I just observed that family and I was like, oh, those are lessons that they need to learn right now in this lifetime. So I'm not going to sit over here and think negative thoughts towards them about them. That only hurts me because I'm in my own game and that's not happening in my game. It's happening over there. So these are all really important tips when we are nurturing relationships. We also have to figure out how to set boundaries, how to not nurture other people by judging them and comparing them. Remember, every single person has their own video game. When you try to interfere with their game, you're leaving your TV and you're going into another one. You're abandoning yourself. So pull all of your energy back, stay in your video game, stay in your TV screen, and keep working on yourself, keep fueling your relationships. And yes, you're fueling other TV screens because other people are in their video games too. You can see it as this. I had this really cool awareness the other day. Sorry, my throat chakra goes nuts when I'm saying something important. My guides it interrupts me so that you guys can hear it. Oh, goodness, that was like 4, I think. Energy's moving. So here's a cool tip. So they gave me this download the other day on my walk where you see all the TV screens, right? Or let's just call it a video game. Say you're playing like Mario Brothers or any kind of game that you love where you have to like reach different levels and you're in different rooms. And maybe there's stars that you have to look up and grab to get more energy, to get more lives, to get more points, right? Well, when we feed and fuel our relationships and our loved ones, we're not jumping into their game and grabbing their arm and taking them to where they need to go. You're letting them play their own game, but you're literally shining a light on them in the game to where they have to look up, right? You're fueling them so much with your love and support that it forces their head to look up in the game. And what's up? The stars, the coins, the benefits of life, right? So when we fuel and love other people, it forces them to come out of their depression. It comes out of their anxiety, out of the grind of the game and the financial struggle. And they look up. Now they have that life force energy. They're like, oh my gosh, here's a star, here's a coin. Now I can keep going in my life because I just got this juice. That is what your mission is. Your mission is to not jump from your game into their game. You're just going to shine a light on them in some way, whether it's through a compliment, through checking in on them, supporting their business. Maybe you push their business on your social media. That's taking a flashlight and shining light on them to the point where they have to look up. They see what you're doing and they're like so grateful and thankful that they can reach more, and it gives them fuel to keep going. So imagine if everybody in the world did this and they stopped intervening, they stopped trying to control you, they stopped judging you, they stopped trying to manipulate, right? I could have easily judged that family the other day at the park, but I pulled my energy back and I was like, no, I'm going to send them good energy in their game and be like, oh, I hope you learn that lesson soon. And yes, there are some times where we have to interrupt and intervene when somebody's getting hurt or we see a crime and we have to report it. That is 100% a different scenario. I'm not talking about that here. But keep this visual in mind. My guides gave this to me on my walk and I was blown away. I was like, I have to share this in a video. Because for me, it clicked. It was just like, oh, they're not my responsibility. I don't need to do anything to force them to make change in their life. Or, I don't have to suffer watching them trying to figure it out. I can just keep fueling them with love from a distance, whether it's energetically or physically. And one day they'll look up and they'll get the energy to keep going. And if they're not looking up when you're shining the light, then maybe they're not ready yet, right? Maybe they're not ready to take that step. And sometimes people, their ego is so strong. Sometimes people don't want the solution that you're giving them. And, most people want to figure it out on their own, but sometimes, I get lots of clients that call me for sessions, but I can tell immediately on the call that they're not wanting the advice. They don't want to hear it. They want to stay where they are. They want to stay comfortable. They don't want to push out of their comfort zone. And I observe it and I don't judge them because I used to be like that too. Because of trauma and wounding, it paralyzes us in situations. And if we can't see it, we need to stay there until we see it. So say you have a sister or brother who's in a marriage that's not healthy and you can see it clearly. You're like, this person is not good for my sibling, but they need to have the awakening moment. You cannot chirp in their ear and tell them over and over again. They're not learning their life's lesson. You're like literally jumping into the video game and pulling them out of the game. They're not able to finish the game. So you just want to love them as they're learning the lesson, even though their life could be better. They have to learn that on their own. Okay. So I just wanted to share that in this video. I'm sending you all so much love. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. And if you want to work with me, everything's in the comments. I have a mentorship, an 8-week mentorship. I have a group coaching program and I do one-to-one calls, breakthrough calls, intuitive readings. And I just started hosting something called the All Game. It's a spiritual universe board game based on synchronicity. It's like a 2 to 3 hour game. You can play one-to-one with me. I'll be the guide. I don't play. We'll play on Zoom. I have a whole board and it's like a 2 to 3 hour long reading. So you're getting messages back as you maneuver through the board. It's like Jumanji. It's a really fun way to grow spiritually and to get answers from the universe. So I offer all of that. It's all in the comments. I'm sending you so much love. Have a wonderful day. All right. Peace out.